This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao's mouth was wide open as he looked at the punch in horror. When he made the helmet, he had only fused part of the elemental power of earth, water, fire, and wind into it on a whim. He did not expect that Haolian Xiaohuang had actually cultivated such a shocking punch. The extreme of the entire fist intent world was so condensed that even he felt his heart palpitate. Split open heaven earth. Haolian Xiaohuang's eyes were calm as he coldly spat out these 4 words. The world seemed to tremble slightly. Everyone present felt it and turned around in shock. Boom. The extreme point suddenly exploded, and a destructive force was formed. It instantly devoured the 4-star martial emperor, and the entire sky was shattered. Everyone was shocked, especially Yunxiao. In addition to shock, there were also countless doubts and puzzlement in his eyes. The mighty power that swept everything was actually similar to the power of the world on his divine realm tablet. Could it be that by possessing the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, one can create a world of their own? A strange thought was born in Yunxiao's heart, and it spread out uncontrollably. In the shattered sky, the 4-star martial emperor who had been swept into the sky by Haowang's punch rushed out of a crack a moment later. He was in a sorry state. His eyes were filled with horror, and he no longer had the heart to continue fighting. He instantly wanted to escape. What? You're actually fine? A strange expression appeared on Haolian Xiaohuang's face. Although a single punch wasn't enough to kill the other party's unscathed state still left him stunned. He muttered to himself, is the gap between 2 stars that big? 1 star is a world. You've already done well by making him flee in a sorry state. Let's go, Yunxiao said indifferently. Then, he teleported out and transformed into a bolt of lightning. The thundercloud moved quickly in the sky and devoured the man in an instant. Bang. The thunderclouds were blown apart by a force. The martial sovereign was protected by a layer of faint yellow light, and the lightning crackled on top of it. Although it was beautiful, it could not cause him any real harm. He said in shock and anger, Li Yunxiao, do you want to fight to the death? Let me go, and I won't have any more ideas about you. The exploding thunderbolts gathered in front of him and gradually condensed into Yunxiao's body. He's very perverted and violent when he's in power, but he's very silly and naive when he's out of power. He formed hand seals with one hand and revealed his golden body Dharma form. His 6 arms were either holding weapons or forming hand seals. The Dharma form was solemn. The power of wind and fire swirled under his feet and slowly condensed into the shape of a crocodile. It looked majestic under his feet. The 4-stars martial emperor's face turned extremely unsightly. Although Yunxiao had a cultivation base of 9 stars martial supreme after all, the supreme technique he had just shown had made his heart tremble. Li Yunxiao, don't be too ruthless. Leaving a line of leeway for others is also leaving a line of leeway for yourself. A cold gleam flickered in Yunxiao's eyes as he said sarcastically, so you also understand this logic. When you wanted to kill me just now, did you think of this sentence? He pointed with his right hand, and 9 northern heaven frigid star swords appeared. They flew in the sky and turned into a huge sword formation. They were connected from head to tail and swallowed and spat out each other. Gradually, they formed a huge sword shape and slashed down. 9 heavens grabbing moon. The 4-star martial emperor attacked in shock. Sword light slashed out from his body. It was a completely defensive attack. It formed a cocoon-like barrier and resisted the attack. Yunxiao sneered, and the divine realm tablet on one of his arms flew up as well, growing limitlessly like an immortal monument. It broke through the sky while the power of the world kept devouring the emperor chi of the 9th heaven and sweeping away everything. Boom. Under Yunxiao's 2 strongest moves, a huge power exploded with a bang, which was even more terrifying than Haolian Xiaohuang's genesis. Humph. Suddenly, Yunxiao snorted coldly. He raised an arm behind him and shot out a beam of mirror light, which broke through the space and froze one of the fleeing shadows in the void. Following that, the crocodile beneath his feet let out a deafening roar as its body gradually grew larger, transforming into a humanoid crocodile that was over 80 feet tall. It looked clumsy, but it charged into the mirror light at an extremely fast speed and pounced toward the martial sovereign. The martial sovereign let out a terrified scream and was swallowed by the crocodile. The crocodile's belly began to change shape. Emperor Qi kept bursting out of its body, but it was getting weaker and weaker. In the end, it slowly calmed down, and the martial emperor's aura disappeared completely. As Yunxiao's battle was too magnificent, it attracted the attention of the crowd from time to time. When they saw the scene of the martial sovereign being eaten by the crocodile man, everyone gasped in horror and could not help but shiver. The morale of the people who had the upper hand rose even higher, and they all attacked with all their might. Seeing that the matter here was settled, Yunxiao threw the Divine Realm tablet over and rushed to the battlefield where the others were fighting. After eating a martial sovereign, the crocodile burped a few times and walked over step by step. The remaining 3 people were scared out of their wits. They were already at a disadvantage, and now, they had no desire to continue fighting and anxiously asked to retreat. Boom! The man on the east side was struck by Mo Xiaochuan's sword in his panic and died. The man who was fighting against Go Yueguang saw the gator man suddenly speed up and charge at him. He was so scared that his body trembled and he used all his strength to push Go Yueguang away. The gator man suddenly rushed over and turned into a wheel of wind and fire, bombarding it. Boom! The firestorm wheels were knocked away by the attack, but they didn't dissipate. They condensed again and trapped the man inside. Go Yueguang's expression turned cold as his saber light sliced through the air like water. Spare his life! Yunxiao suddenly shouted. However, it was too late. The saber radiance tore through the sky and turned the person who was struggling to resist the firestorm wheels into dust. Yunxiao's expression flickered, and he immediately threw out the dynasty bell from his Dharma idol. An ancient sound spread out and fell on the last 3 people in the battle, enveloping the last man in an instant. Young Master Yun, you're not going to kill him? Mo Xiaochuan came up to him with a puzzled look on his face. Leave one, Yunxiao said with a smile. I need him. He pointed at the dynasty bell and put it away. The remaining martial emperor was thrown into the Divine Realm tablet. Hulian Xiaohuang stepped forward with a smile and said, Young Master Yun, how was my punch? Since you're not willing to teach me the second martial skill, I'll create my own. Yunxiao's face was filled with admiration as he said, very strong, very strong. It also gave me great inspiration. Among my many disciples, you might be the one who will go the furthest. Hulian Xiaohuang was overjoyed. He winked at Mo Xiaochuan, his face beaming with joy. It's been hard on you to use your limited intelligence on the infinite martial arts, Mo Xiaochuan said indifferently. You're asking for a beating. Hulian Xiaohuang shouted and raised his fist as he charged forward. The 2 of them immediately became one, flashing back and forth in the sky. The 3 brothers of the Go clan walked forward with expressions of reverence. Go Xingguang carefully asked, Young Master Yun, we've listened to your orders. Can you set us free now? The conversation between Yunxiao and Hulian Xiaohuang startled the 3 of them. Yunxiao was their master? However, ever since he entered the Divine Realm tablet, he could basically accept anything no matter how strange it was. Now, all he wanted was to regain his freedom. I've only heard it once. Yunxiao's eyes bulged as he snorted and said, Back then, the 3 of you wanted to take my life. Do you think it would be so simple? These 4 people wanted to take my life, did you see what happened? Don't tell me young Master Yun is going to lock us up for life? Go Xingguang asked bitterly. Not a lifetime, probably in a few years. Although the spirit chi in the Divine Realm tablet is far inferior to that in Red Moon City, I will provide you with some 9th-tier medicinal pills on time as compensation for the lack of spirit chi. And is a few years really that hard for you? Yunxiao said lightly, his tone emotionless. But, with the seals he had placed on the 3 of them, how could they dare to say no when they were under his control? The 3 of them obediently returned to the Divine Realm tablet. Mo Xiaochuan and Xiaohuang Hulian also went in after messing around for a while. Yunxiao put away the Divine Realm tablet, then turned into a beam of light and flew toward Red Moon City. At this moment, the sky was gradually getting darker and the sky began to turn blood red. The crescent moon was like a huge eye, staring at the earth. Outside the Red Moon City, there was a huge mountain peak that was surrounded by clouds and spiritual energy all year round. There were many demonic beasts and countless spiritual plants, making it a paradise for many adventurers. However, it was shrouded in clouds, and the pointer could not accurately point the way, so the danger was the highest. The clouds would only disperse when the red moon hung in the sky. Under the moonlight of the red moon, the spiritual chi of the mountain was like a blood-red setting sun, and the clouds on the top of the mountain turned purple, as if purple chi came from the east. Such a scene would last for about a month. There was no regular pattern to the opening of the planet. According to past statistics, the longest period of time was no more than 2 months, and the shortest was only 10 days. It was entirely up to luck. At this moment, the purple cloud peak was already filled with experts and heroes. Moreover, a large number of people had begun to surge up from all directions. The sky had long been set up by the Red Moon City, and no one was allowed to fly. If too many people flew in the air, it would be difficult to manage. Now, everyone had to rush all the way from the foot of the mountain, and the Red Moon City could set up a checkpoint on the main road to collect fees. What? 500 million mid-grade primordial stones as a toll? At this moment, an angry roar rang out from the checkpoint. This place is the fairyland of the eastern region and belongs to the entire eastern region. Why does your Red Moon City charge for it? And it's so expensive. Due to the large number of people, the 10 young women at the toll booth were a little busy. A middle-aged man trembled in anger after hearing the amount of toll. He looked like he was about to flip the table. Although the 10 beautiful maids were only martial lords and martial grandmasters, none of them dared to make a scene. The warriors who had already paid the vitality stones frowned, turned around, and ran towards the top of the mountain. Those who had yet to pay stopped and watched quietly. After all, 500 million medial-grade primordial stones was not a small sum for most people. Just when everyone thought that the beautiful servant would get angry, she only glanced at the middle-aged man in front of her indifferently and said, "Master Bieli also said that the wealth is shared by everyone in the realm of heavenly martial arts, not our Red Moon City." Eh? Then why did you set such a high fee for the checkpoint? The middle-aged man was also stunned. Then, he mumbled in dissatisfaction. The beautiful servant smiled gently. Master Bieli said that the earth and heaven immortals are the most precious treasures of the heavenly martial arts realm. If you really want to charge them, it will be 5 billion. Even 50 billion is not enough. We've only set up the checkpoint to collect the fee to ascend the Purple Cloud Peak. After all, the Purple Cloud Peak is the private property of our Red Moon City. This kasaya is too expensive. Humph. The middle-aged man snorted angrily. Also, as long as you don't set up a flying ban, only ghosts would run through these mountains. I'm sorry, she said. The beautiful maid replied humbly, this area belongs to the Red Moon City. We have the right to prohibit flying, and this is also to ensure everyone's safety. If it wasn't for our Red Moon City to maintain order, everyone would have already killed until blood flowed like a river. What? The middle-aged man said angrily, so you're saying that the 500 million primeval stones you're taking is for our own good? Yes, I am. The beautiful maid said in a neither humble nor arrogant manner. You guys, you're like bandits. The middle-aged man trembled in anger. The beautiful maidservant said, Sir, please move aside. Don't delay others from going up the mountain. We are all civilized people. Don't make us use force. You want to kill people? The middle-aged man's face was livid with anger. Master Bieli has said that those who can't pay the toll are usually poor people with no backing. If they're killed, then so be it, the beautiful maidservant said politely. The middle-aged man replied. Sigh, brother, the situation is more pressing than the person. It's better to hand over the money. The other man behind him shook his head helplessly. After throwing out a bag of vital stones, he ran towards the back of the mountain. The beautiful maidservant revealed a charming smile and said, "What this lord said is true. How many years does it take for the world to open? Our Red Moon City can only earn some money at this time, and there are still people who are not happy and want to haggle over every small detail. Why didn't he think about it? If it wasn't for my Red Moon City's sundial, who would be able to catch the opening time? Have you paid for the research and making of the moon sundial?" Everyone's face was filled with black lines. They knew that they couldn't escape with the money, so the team that had stopped to go up the mountain continued to move forward. Suddenly, a green thunderbolt streaked across the sky, and the restrictive spell space in front of them suddenly caved in like a sponge. A layer of white light appeared on the thunderbolt, which seemed to be the flickering of sword chi. A small hole was immediately opened in the restrictive barrier, and the lightning bolt went in. The people below were all shocked. The middle-aged man also said in surprise, "Someone broke into the restriction, and you're not going to do anything?" The beautiful servant also looked up at the sky and said, "Although the Red Moon City is one of the 7 superpowers, not everyone can control it. If you have the ability, you don't have to pay the toll, but do you have the ability to do so?" Everyone was silent, their hearts bitter. This was the world where the strong preyed on the weak, and martial arts were respected. Humph. I saw that the person who had just broken the seal was only a 9 stars Martial Supreme, and he was only at the primary level. I am a middle grade 9 stars Martial Supreme. If he can break it, I don't believe that I can't. The middle-aged man, who had been reluctant to pay, suddenly turned into a ray of light and flew up to the restriction. He took out a triangular treasure and immediately transformed it in front of him, covering his entire body. Like a pangolin, he rushed up the mountain. Bang! Finally, it hit the seal. A white light shot out like an electric arc and hit the triangular treasure. Boom! In just an instant, the triangular treasure and the middle-aged man turned to dust. The light ripples spread out and quickly dissipated, as if nothing had happened. Everyone's heart trembled, and no one dared to raise any objections to the toll. They all obediently paid the primordial stones and went up the mountain. The thunderbolt was Yun Xiao. Of course, he would not pay the toll, as he was already familiar with the place. After breaking the restrictive barrier, he rushed to the top of the mountain in an instant and landed on a flat rock. There were thousands of people gathered on the mountain peak, but they tried their best to squeeze at the bottom. The mountain peak was flat, but there were only a few dozen people. They were all lords of their respective regions, heroes of the world. This was also a sense of distance caused by the difference in strength. The powerhouses below the rank of Martial Supreme were squeezed halfway up the mountain, and the people on top were all existences that they had to look up to. Turning into lightning? On the mountaintop, among the forces with the largest number of people, Jiang Churen's pupils shrank as he looked at Li Yunxiao, who had revealed himself under the thunderbolt, and was quite surprised. Yunxiao's arrival attracted the attention of many people, and countless eyes immediately swept over. Who is this kid? A martial honor dares to stand with the legendary figures and overlords? Is there a hole in his brain? Don't talk nonsense if you don't know anything. This is Li Yunxiao, the #1 rising star whose strength is comparable to a 4-star martial emperor. What? It's actually him. No wonder he's so strong. I heard that his dantian was shattered and his martial arts foundation was destroyed. How can he still be so strong? He's probably just throwing the pot to the ground. Anyway, the foundation of his martial arts has been destroyed, so everything doesn't matter. You're right. If you enter the depths of the world, you must be careful when you meet this person. All kinds of discussions came and went into Yunxiao's ears. He smiled and released his divine sense when the others scanned him unscrupulously. To his surprise, he found many familiar faces among them. When Ruan Hongyu saw him, her face changed slightly. She turned to Ning Kuyue and said, "You taught him?" His daughter's curse had been cured by Yun Xiao, so he had a good impression of him. But now, when he saw him show his hand, he immediately felt a layer of disgust. "Do you have evidence?" Ning Kuyue frowned. Yuan Hongyu snorted heavily and said, the lightning transformation isn't a top-tier cultivation technique, but the act of spreading the secret art is too vile. We must investigate who did it. No matter how high the status of the person is or how strong he is, we must not let him off easily. Whatever. Ning Kuyue said. She waved at Yun Xiao, as if she had something to say. In a few flashes, Yun Xiao arrived in front of the people of Hongyue City. First, he nodded slightly at Jiang Churen, with a smile in his eyes as a greeting. Jiang Churen was stunned for a moment. A strange feeling welled up in her heart. Which junior would not be respectful and excited when they saw her? This kid actually greeted her as if she was an old friend. He smiled and nodded. He did not have the nervousness of meeting a sect leader or a top master at all. When everyone saw this scene, they thought that Yun Xiao's relationship with Red Moon City was not ordinary. Without saying a word, Ning Kuyue took out a jade tablet and put it in Yun Xiao's hand. We'll take a look after we enter. Be careful. With a flip of his hand, Yun Xiao put it away and nodded gently. I will. Young Master Yun, have you considered the matter I discussed with you? Not far away, Yong Tianyun asked with a kind smile. Everyone was shocked. Yong Tianyun was a 9th-tier great alchemist, who represented the supreme authority of the Sea of Soul formation. In terms of status, he might not be as high as Jiang Churen, but at this moment, he represented the Sea of Soul formation, and his authority was no less than Jiang Churen's. I don't have enough time to think about it, Yun Xiao said with a faint smile. I'll tell Elder Tianyun when I figure it out. All right, I'll be waiting for your good news. Yong Tianyun nodded with a smile. A few sharp gazes from Yong Tianyun's side were looking at him. They were the people from the Mu family. Mu Fengjuan's face was ashen as he said sternly, give me back my golden armored man. Yun Xiao ignored him and turned his eyes to the rest of the people. Under the platform at the top of the mountain, he even saw the figure of Zhang Linghua, the sect master of the Big Dipper sect. When Zhang Linghua saw Yun Xiao looking at her, her face turned extremely unsightly, so she forced an ugly smile, her forehead covered in cold sweat. Liao Yangbing and the other 6 people were standing in a corner, greeting him. One of the 6 people was the owner of the shop that provided the earthly golden pills. He was also surprised by Yun Xiao's identity and could not help but look at him a few more times. The boss who provided the exploding yuan fruits was also among the crowd in the distance. He seemed to be a little hesitant and didn't dare to come forward. He just smiled apologetically from a distance. In addition, there were many familiar faces, both in this life and in his previous life. For example, the Blade Sect's Chen Feng had the Tiani Merchant Association's Liang Yui behind him. After the battle at Songhua Yangcheng, Liang Yui should have already joined the Blade Sect. Even Xiao Jingming and Shui Luoyan were among them. The people of the Blade Sect looked at Yun Xiao with extremely cold eyes. Although Chen Feng wanted to come forward and greet him, Yun Xiao was the focus of everyone at the moment, so he did not want to show up. There was also Li Feiyu from the 10,000 Treasures Tower, as well as experts from various sects in the world. Even some of the large sect experts he knew in his previous life were also present. It was definitely one of the best grand events. Li Yunxiao, quickly return the golden armored man of my Mu family. After Mu Fengjun spoke, Yunxiao directly ignored him, which made Mu Hong's face extremely unsightly, and he had no choice but to step forward and speak. Yunxiao's eyes turned and fell on him. Frowning, he said, "Who are you? Do I know you?" Humph humph. Mu Hong snorted a few times and sneered, "Don't think that just because you're the #1 among the younger generation, everyone will give you face. This face is not useful in my Mu family.